Where you gonna be?
All right, got you both. All right, thank you everyone for your patience. We are a lot more behind than we usually are, and I apologize for that. So let's begin our meeting tonight with a moment of silence, followed by a salute to the flag. Salute to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business for reorganization is to appoint a temporary president. You nominate me? I have to hand it off. Jeff will make Jeff temporary.
Oh, thank you.
Now it's your turn.
Can I accept any
Number 3.
nominations for president? With a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Mr. Yost? President again?
Sorry.
No.
Okay, now we'll move on to nominations for vice president.
Nominate Mr. Hess?
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Mr. Hess for vice president?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Mr. Hess. Okay, I got that down, thank you. Okay. Ayes have it. Mr. Hess is the vice president again. Election of the secretary, we're good with that, right? Remains the same. Mrs. Post, you're still going to be our CSIU representative, correct?
Yeah.
Nominations for VOTEC representatives.
Actually, that's not exactly correct, because Mr. Eisenhower and myself are on finishing up year 1 of the 3 years.
So you're on your.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
both of year 1, so basically, there's no change, really.
Okay. All
Unless
right.
someone else wants it that bad.
Anybody like to be an alternate for that?
We did the entire board before.
Anybody that can go?
Yeah. Hey, they feed you well.
We need one person nominated for the PSBA legislative chairperson. Anyone? I did that last year, was not very involved.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. So next is to set the school board schedule for next year. And the attachment is, the attachment to the agenda is correct. Everybody has the attachment? I think you're, you guys got it? Okay. So everybody has the attachment. So next year, we're looking to have committee of the whole and monthly board meetings. Will begin at 6 o'clock on the second Monday of each month. The board meeting will begin immediately following the conclusion of the committee of the whole meeting. Can we get a motion to accept the dates as so proposed?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Board committees. Would anybody like to change committees from what they had last year?
I'd like to add budget finance.
There is room because I do not want to be on budget and finance this year.
If possible. As long as the meetings are after 4:30.
Right, no, that's budget and finance. So Mr. Nestle and Mr. Taylor will add to budget and finance.
I'd like to approve
All right, so that gives us 4, correct? So athletic committee will remain Mrs. Cucurlo, Mr. Eisenhower, Mrs. Post. Academic affairs will remain Mr. Nespoli, Mrs. Post, Mr. Lanning. Buildings and ground will be Mr. Eisenhower, Mrs. Moyer, Mr. Lanning, and Mrs. Cucurlo. Policy will be Mr. Lanning, myself, and Mrs. Moyer as alternate. For discipline, I would like to be part of the discipline committee. Are you going to stay alternate?
I can't answer.
So the discipline committee will be Mrs. Post, Mrs. Cucurlo, and myself. And human resources will probably remain the entire board, correct? Unless we have 4 people that just want to take it. That is all we have for reorganization. Committee of the whole, we move right into academic affairs.
Yeah.
So, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through the whole presentation that's included in here unless there's any questions, but I am going to share some information so that everyone in the audience knows where to get some additional data as we're going through this. So this is a review of our 23-24 assessment data. So some of the important things to keep in mind when we're looking at our data is that there are 2 different types of results that we look at. We look at proficiency and we look at growth. Neither of those are ever looked at in isolation. When we think about our state assessment, we're really looking at the trends and patterns that we see across all of our grade levels in regards to our core instruction. Our proficiency is testing and looking at where our students are at achieving and meeting grade level standards. This is measured through our advanced and proficiency in our PSSA and Keystone exams. And then our growth is looking at how we're growing all of our students, and that's measured through what we look at with our PBOS system. I do want to point something out when we're thinking about our assessment data. When we're talking about our state assessment, this is really high-level data, and I try to explain to people when we think about how we're setting our goals or how we're deciding to make changes in regards to our academics as a district, that we really want to think about layers of data or a thick data analysis. So our state assessments are what we would think of as a satellite level of data. Again, these show us long-term trends and patterns for larger groups of students. They don't necessarily give us a picture-perfect lens of what our students are doing on a daily basis. As we get a little bit closer to the day-to-day experience with students, we can think about some of our math level data. Our math level data are going to be things like our Acadians assessments, our iReady assessments, other common assessments that we look at the instructional level. And then the closest level of data that we have to make our instructional decisions is our street level data. Our street level data is looking at day-to-day work that our students are completing. It's having our teachers spend time looking at actual work in the classrooms, and it includes both qualitative and quantitative. So because I know we're not going to have a lot of time to dive into this today, I did want to make sure that everyone knew where they could access this data. These are all resources that are open to anyone in the public. Can you go ahead and click on the Future Ready? Keep going, say your parent. I think they had a ton of for parents, that's the first one that comes up. So the Future Ready PA Index is what we think about as part of our school's report card, or our district report card. This looks at all of the schools and districts throughout the state of Pennsylvania, including our charter schools, our cyber charter schools, as well as our career and technical centers. You click out the box there. Then you go to the search and just put Berwick in. And okay, I use that. High school test. So the Future Ready PA Index, you can keep scrolling down. And go ahead to the school name itself. It's going to show us both proficiency and growth. And it's going to color code some of these things for ease of access. Go ahead and scroll down. All right. So what's nice about the Future Ready Index is it not only is going to show us this in regards to arrows, which means we're trending upward or downward, and it's also going to show us in regards to colors. And so one thing to keep in mind is blue is usually really good, right? We want to always strive for blue in any of these areas. Can you go ahead and click on the first one? Move it down to the bottom. I'll let you open up. So this is our record of what percentage of our students are proficient or advanced on our state assessments. So remember, our proficient and advanced is looking at where we are in regards to our grade level content. So if we were looking at this for one of our elementary schools and we're looking at the assessment scores on here, these are going to be strictly on grade level content. That's what the PSSAs are designed to show us, where our students should be after a year's worth of work in a specific grade level. So this is our high school. It's going to show us what percentage of our students are proficient or advanced in regards to the Keystone exams, which are an end of the course exam for our students. The next part we can look at is our growth, and I'm going to show you another resource where you can actually dive into the growth scores a little bit more deeply than what Future Ready shows us. PBOS shows us the growth index for our students, and again, blue is good. One of the things that's really important to keep in mind is when we're looking at any of these assessment data and we're looking at our growth, we want to look at consistent blue over a period of time. So in order for us to see more of our students successful at meeting grade level standards, we want to see consistent levels of blue over time. So blue 1 year is great, but it's not going to give us the kind of sustained growth that we want to see for our students to measure success in regards to proficiency as well. I also want to point out that the scores here that say 80, 87, and 92, these are not percentages, and so we don't want to think about this as a percentage of students that's meeting this. There is a handout that's attached to the agenda that's going to break this down more for you with the colors as well. You can go ahead back to scroll up. Go to school on fire. When we look at the Future Ready Index, most of our data is going to be updated as of the 23-24 assessment year, but there are a couple of things that are not. And these are some of our lagging indicators. Regular attendance is one of our lagging indicators. So regular attendance is going to show us the number of students that were attending school regularly in the 22-23 school year. So it's important when you're looking at the Future Ready Index that you're remembering that regular attendance as well as our graduation rates are going to be lagging. It's going to be a year behind. So when we're doing our school planning, we're doing our comprehensive planning, or when we're doing our high school planning or elementary school planning, we're going to be looking at our most up-to-date information in regards to attendance that's not necessarily going to match this. So if any of you are coming to our comprehensive planning sessions or any of our school planning sessions, when we look at the data at the end of the year, we're going to be looking at data that's pulled directly from our system, which is going to be the more up-to-date information. You can go back to the PowerPoint. And to PBAS. And you can click on here, please. And then click on public access. So PBAS is where we look at growth over time. And so this is where we're looking at, are we growing every student in our school district? So this includes our students that are coming into us with some challenges in their grade levels, as well as our students that are super successful on their state assessments. We're looking at consistent growth of every student. You can go ahead and click on LEA district reports. Yeah, go ahead, click on the value pattern. Go up to where it says 21st century cyber charter school. You go down to and again, we can look at this for any school in the state. We can look at this for any district in the state. You're also able to spend some time, if you want to do some comparisons, we can see growth per time period. We can look at growth in certain demographics of students. And so this is why when we're having conversations like this, I want to make sure that you have access to this, but I do anticipate that there will be some questions that will come up afterwards, especially in regards to specific grade levels. And so making sure that we have time to do that. I do have my email address at the end of the presentation if anyone wants to follow up with any other questions today. But this is going to be looking at our growth in the last school year. So we're going to see that we're just currently looking at grades 6, 7, and 8. And 6, 7, and 8 on here. Can you click on 2023? And you make sure that PS is saying this. So we can go all the way back to 2018. We can also look at cohorts of students. When we look at PLAS, again, what we're looking at is consistent blue. So we want to see that our students are hitting those blue growth zones multiple years. That's how we start to see more of our students gaining proficiency at grade level content. So it's a great thing for us to be blue for a year. It does show us that something worked really well with that particular group of students. But in order for us to see sustained growth, we want to see that blue consistently. So we can take a look at some of these. You can scroll a little bit. You can see for our English language arts, we're going to have some blips that are going to move up a little bit in our patterns, and we're going to see some that are not going to be where we want them to be. You can keep scrolling down. I do want to point out, we did really well on our Keystone Biology. As a district, we've historically done pretty well for most of our sciences in the high school level. I think it's really important to keep in mind that we do have a new set of science standards that are coming out for this school year, which means our test is going to change. This school year, they will have new questions on the test that are aligned to the STEEL standards. Again, in your presentation for today, you can go through, there's a FAQs about the STEEL standards that you can take a look at. One of the things that's interesting about the STEEL standards is that it's every standard, every student. So what that means is every student from kindergarten through 12th grade is supposed to be getting exposure to science, technology, engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability every single year. We'll have our students tested in 4th grade, 8th grade, and when they finish their Keystone Bio exam, 5th grade and 8th grade, when they finish their biology course. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a downward shift this year with our assessment results. For many of our students, the bulk of what they've been learning in a lot of their science classes is bio, and it's a heavier bio base, especially in the elementary level. And they may not have had as much exposure to the engineering and the environmental literacy pieces. So I don't want anyone to panic if we come up and we see that our results are a little bit lower in this next year for our science, because it is going to be an area, it's one that we're already working on. We have a number of teachers that have already been going out for professional development and looking at implementing some new science curricula, especially in the elementary level. I'm going to pause here. Any questions from the board before I go back to the presentation? So you have all of these handouts for the week round, but I just want to make sure that everybody had the same information, and they were coming in. Okay, nope, go back. All right, so these are our proficiency trends. So this is from 2017 through our testing year in 2024. Something that I'm really excited about is our third grade. So when we're looking at our third grade from 2017 up to 2024, again, these are different groups of students, but we definitely saw a bit of a dip, especially for some of our students that would have been coming in post-COVID. And so I was really excited when I saw that we were back up to that 63.8% proficiency in third grade. So what I'm hopeful is that pattern of growth and proficiency is going to continue as we move forward. I know a lot of times we talk about there are impacts from COVID, and we know that we have impacts from COVID, but I am hopeful that this is an upward trend for this particular group of students, and I'm hopeful that we're going to continue to see that as we move forward. There's nothing on here that was surprising to me. One of the things that was really interesting to look at when I was talking to our principals about this year is that our Acadians testing, which looks at our students' readiness in reading, was almost matched exactly to our proficiency were for our ELA. They're not something that's normally a one-to-one correspondence, but it was a really interesting piece of information to see the percentage of our students that might not be reading on grade level and how that almost matched exactly with what we were seeing with their ELA proficiency in third and fourth grade. iReady was very similar as well, which is a good thing for us because it shows us that our internal tests are giving us a good predictor of grade level content. Again, we have our math proficiency. Across the state, math was not good last year, but for us, our third graders actually had shown an improvement with that group of students. So again, this is something that I'm really feeling positive about, and we're seeing our students beginning to make that jump up after COVID. And our science scores. I have some information here about the STIL standards, so you're able to see what they look like. They are really intense, and there's a lot of information that's included in this. This is going to be a big shift for our teachers, and so we want to make sure that we're committed to continuing to give them time and supports to be able to dive into those standards to make those shifts for our teachers. You can keep going. There's just lots of information. All right, so here's our Keystone exams. Again, this is our proficiency. This is not going to be our growth. So this is going to be the percentage of students that are proficient in our Keystone exams. I do think it's important to note that when we're looking at this slide in particular, this is going to be looking at our middle and high schools combined. So we do have some students that take the Keystone exams in the middle school, and that is reflected on here. So when we go to some of the next slides that look at actual student numbers, it looks a little bit different. And I think that's why it's important that we include both percentages and the numbers of students themselves. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time digging into this. I know it might be hard for some of you to see, but you can look at these online. I think it's really important when we start to talk about data that we're not just thinking about percentages of students. These are actual students that are in our school buildings. And so it was important for me to be able to showcase numbers of students. And I think sometimes when we think about it that way, it helps to personalize this a bit more than just being a dot on a screen. So these are the actual number of students for our literature Keystone exams that were in 2023 and 2024. We've been pretty consistent with which number of students are going to be proficient on our Keystone exam. This is going to be, again, we're looking at this for our algebra exams. So we can see some of our students in 7th grade and 8th grade, which took our Algebra 1 Keystone exam. We can also see our students in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade that are going to be proficient or not proficient on the Keystone exams. Biology, same thing here. I did want to point this out because, again, we can look at some of those proficiency numbers and we can feel a little disheartened. I shared with Academic Affairs and many of my colleagues that I like to have a healthy sense of urgency, right? So I'm not living every day in an utter sense of panic, but that I do have this healthy sense of urgency that I carry with me all the time in regards to how our students are doing, because I truly believe we have brilliant students in our school district. I've told everyone you should come to kindergarten registration, because kindergarten registration is that time when parents are bringing us their best, and every student is super excited about coming to school. So it's our responsibility to make sure that our students get that same level of excitement every year that they're here with us. We can see that for our Keystone exams, we did have some really good trends in our growth patterns in algebra. And so one of the things that we're looking at is what in particular happened with that group of students that may have given them that overarching sense of growth, and we can see that. It may not have hit all of the proficiency, but we are seeing that our students are growing all the way in our blue towards the end. The same with our Keystone Algebra, we want to make sure that we're sustaining that. All right, so I want to talk about what's coming next, and this is actually what's happening right now. So one of the things that we're looking at is the instructional core. So the instructional core is the relationship between teachers, students, and content. This is what creates the foundation for learning for us. We can't change just one of these, right? So we implemented a new math curricula a few years ago. We're going to implement a new math curricula. We also need to make sure that we're impacting changes in teacher practices and student engagement in the classroom. We can't just do one of those pieces. They all have to be addressed when moving through this. So one of our first steps that we're doing is we're making sure that we're engaging students in the learning process. Many of our schools are already having conversations about what does student engagement look like in classrooms. And our middle school in particular has started to have some opportunities for teachers to take a look at other teachers' classrooms. We've had some great success with our new assistant principal there coming in and being able to give some feedback to teachers too in regards to the student engagement piece. We also know we have to improve regular attendance. Our students cannot be successful if they're not here on a regular basis. So this is a shout out to anybody. It's really important that your kids are here every day. Our teachers are working very hard to make sure that our students are getting a great educational experience. We have to have them here. And so we're having conversations about what some of those barriers to regular attendance might look like so that we're able to address them in the school. We also are increasing our student participation in school and district level planning. So our students are coming to our comprehensive planning sessions, they're coming to our school planning sessions, so they can really give their voice to what they want to see their school system look like. We're also continuing to look at improving and building upon teachers' instructional practices. We're really lucky here in the school district. We tend to have very few turnover in teachers. Many of our teachers have been here for decades, and we want to make sure they have what they need to continue to be successful. So we have continued to increase feedback loops, offering ongoing job-embedded professional learning that's been aligned with student outcome, increasing time and protocols available for collaboration, and also doing an overhaul of our induction plan and processes. Scroll down and share this, go back. So I did want to share our early release days. That was a hard decision for us to make as an academic team and as a district. The initial feedback from our teachers, and I think as of yesterday, it was around 60 teachers have responded so far. About 94% of them have found that the early release staff development days have been beneficial or extremely beneficial. And they've talked about the ways that they're using that time to collaborate with their peers in ways that they're not able to do during the school day right now. And in regards to our October and November format of a more personalized professional learning approach, 100% of teacher respondents said it was either beneficial or extremely beneficial. I'm really proud of that because I know that that's showing that our teachers are using their time wisely, they're using it in a way that's beneficial to them, and what's coming out of those times together, I can read some of their notes, is really solid problem solving. And that's what we want to be able to continue to support our teachers with. We're also going to be continuing to look at what does academically challenging content look like in our district, in particular when it comes to high quality instructional materials. I am working on some continued revisions to the website so that we'll have more access to what we're doing in our classrooms and mapping out some family engagement events for the remainder of the school year. I do want to be very open and honest that there are areas in regards to our instructional materials that we are going to need to invest in. When it comes to the STEEL standards, K to 12, there is going to need to be an investment in the science curricula and materials that have not been updated in a while. And so when there will be a time, we'll have to come to the board to say, here are some of the things that we may need to invest in. We want our students to have everything that they need to be successful. what we're working on. We are mapping out our long-term outcomes. So where do we want to go as a school district? That's been part of our work with our comprehensive planning, really looking at what our vision for learning is as a district. We're then going to be mapping out our short-term and mid-term outcomes and aligning all of our resources, activities, and outputs to that. So when we're making decisions based on the vision for learning we have in the district. Because there's a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of really fantastic ideas that can come across our plates. It's important for us to establish that vision so we can make decisions that are in alignment with the vision for learning for our students in the district. Okay. Oh, I have 4. Sorry, these are short things though. The other things from our Academic Affairs Committee meeting is we do have a career readiness survey that we're hoping to move forward with. We had a conversation about this. This is going to allow us to see where there might be some barriers to our students in regard to access for careers. And we're also coming forward with a proposal which we would need the board to vote on this evening for the DARE program to come back to the district. We had a really nice presentation at our Academic Affairs Committee meeting. This would be an opportunity to teach some additional social emotional skills, some character building skills, and healthy choices to our students in the middle and the elementary school.
Thank you, Dr. Shotwell. Do you have anything for athletics?
We have, I had something a little later because I didn't say about the volleyball team. Can you pull that up? So this is something, all the awards aren't out all yet. The all-state teams are out, but just for our volleyball teams, they won the District 3 championship this year for a 3rd time. They're District AAA Wyoming Valley Conference champions. Sarah Warner is the Coach of the Year, and this is the first year that we won we've won districts before, but we never won a state game. This year they won their first state game. These are all the players that got. Zoe Forrest was Defensive Player of the Year. Grace Robbins, first team. Wyoming Valley Conference, Julia Roush, first team. Angela Clone, Wyoming Valley Conference, second team. Taylor Rita Gomez, Wyoming Valley Conference, honorable mention. Football player, this is in summer here without the summer ball out. I'll just go over one time here. Wilkinson is Offensive Player of the Year in the Wyoming Valley Conference, and you see the rest down there. We had 2 soccer players. Just scroll up, just playing an all-star game. So everything's not out yet. There's some newspaper teams that come out, and when they come out, I'll give out as they come out. That's about all we have. And just a little recap we've had. Just this past week, we've had 3 games at our Christmas Field. We hosted state playoff games for PIAA and got a lot of compliments from how nice our stadium is and accommodate for our press box, for media, and everything like that. And so the teams were very, very put in their futures. The first time in 6 years that I've been here that we've had a PIAA at our stadium, at our football stadium. We got a lot of compliments. We hosted our basketball gym. We hosted PIAA games before for the first time.
Nice. Budget. So we have the nutrition group report we have. Does anybody have any questions on the nutrition report?
What else do you have for us?
So the nutrition group, the monthly report, they left the gift bags for you. I just wanted to mention that this year every 5 years there's an audit that's done for the administrative review audit, it's called. This year the audit began with resource management section, which is the offsite portion of the audit. It's about 19 sections with hundreds of questions. It ends with an on-site review where they observe breakfast and lunch service, as well as some other agenda items. They review recipes, they look at menus. They want to make sure everything passes their analysis testing. In the end, we're 100% compliant, so that's great news, and I really just want to have special thanks to Lori Frey and Carrie Canals for managing this, because again, it's every every 5 years. So I think that's a great thing that we're compliant. Budget prep update. We talked a little bit about this. I think we're getting a head start on the fiscal year for 26. It sounds like historically we start this budgeting process January, February. There's about 5 meetings that have already been held for different departments and schools, starting to work through their budget. And the next group will start to have meetings, and I'm looking forward to meeting with the budget committee to start discussing those moving forward to keep that timeline going. That's all.
All right, thank you. John, do you have anything for buildings and grounds?
For buildings and grounds, we have an upcoming meeting with the EI. We have to get together and discuss the direction that we're going to go with the assessments that they're making. More to be announced on that. We'll have something in the paper when we're going to have that meeting. But as far as anything pressing, no, we don't.
Okay, thank you. This is post-loss connectivity, so we do not have anything for the CSIU report. We have not had a policy committee meeting since the last board meeting. Mr. Hess, do you have anything for us from VoTech?
Yes, we actually just recently hired Dr. Stephen Benskoter as the new principal down there. He's actually starting on this upcoming Wednesday. He came from the Delaware CT prison program here. So basically oversee the CT school in the juvenile prison system in Delaware. He went through a committee of administrators, teachers, and JOC members, and he was unanimous amongst all of them. So we welcome them aboard. Also down there, we started doing exit interviews, for employees that have left, the gates and feedback. And JOC members are invited to attend when available. And actually, this Wednesday, they restarted the reorganization meeting. We haven't done that for years. Probably in future years, I would suggest probably try to reinstitute it next year, because the last year's going to be tough because of getting sworn in and stuff. But every year, I suggested give it a nice tour, a nice meal, and pass up a nice meal. So something to look at for future years. That's it.
Okay, thank you. That ends the committee of the whole topics. We can move right into the regular agenda. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from our November 11th meeting. Get a motion to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Business managers report, we have the monthly bills. Any questions on the monthly bills? We get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Eisenhower?
John, you on for the bills?
Say that again, please?
The monthly bills, your roll call vote, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes, except for Sweet Stevens, no.
Mrs. Petrello?
Yes.
Mr. Lanning?
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Nestle?
Yes.
And Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Yellow?
Yes. You have anything for us?
I just want to call to attention a friendly reminder to be checking the building district level calendars for upcoming events, activities, and performances. Your attendance for our students in these activities means a lot. Thank you to the Interact Club and all the volunteers who dedicated their time and effort to serve our senior citizens at the annual Thanksgiving dinner. Your commitment to the community service is truly inspiring and appreciated by all. And I want to congratulate the girls volleyball team on their outstanding accomplishment. District two AAA champs, and the Wyoming Valley Conference champions as well.
That brings us to public comment, agenda items only. Please state your name and township or borough, and if you represent a group in the community, please give us the appropriate credentials. All right, with that, we'll move on to our general items. General items 1 and 2. Any questions on those? We get a motion to approve general items 1 and general item 2. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. General item 3 is the tax resolution indicating that the board will not raise the rate for 2025-2026 more than the index is calculated by PDE, and that is currently 5.5%.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Nestle?
Yes.
Mr. Lanning?
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Capurlo?
Yes.
Mr. Eisenhower?
John, yes or no on the tax index? Okay.
And Mr. Yost?
Yes. Academic affairs, we have 2 items. Any questions on these items? Motion to approve academic affairs items number 1 and number 2.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Buildings and grounds, 2 items. Any questions? Motion to approve item 1 and 2. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Extracurricular, we have 1 item to acknowledge a West Berwick Parent Group fundraiser. Get a motion to acknowledge that. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Transportation, we have 1 item to hire 1 van driver. We get a motion for that approval. Second? All in favor? Opposed? Get that? Personnel items, we have 13 items.
Motion to table P12.
Any discussion for table in P12? Your motion second?
Yeah.
Second. So for P12, all in favor of tabling? Aye. Opposed? I'm also an aye for opposed. So there's 3 opposed and 4. Okay.
John.
I didn't hear John. John, P12, motion been made and seconded to table P12. Mr. Eisenhower?
Wanted to table Say that one more time, Jared. I'm not that cell area, sorry.
Mr. Hess, motion to table personnel item 12, Mr. Taylor, second, and we're now yes or no to table P12.
Which is, I don't even have the agenda in front of me.
I'm sorry. P12 is approval of Shane Cupsey to be assistant baseball coach at a stipend of $2,000.
No, I don't see any reason to table that, no.
So we're 4-4 not to table. Move to table. So the motion doesn't pass it. So we are voting on it, correct? You have all that, right? Richard? Yeah. So personnel items 1 through 13. Motion to approve. All in favor?
I accept for P12,
I accept the B12.
That's like the B12.
John, items P1 through 13. Mr. Eisenhower? Right. John, last call, we're gonna have to disconnect you. All right. So Mr. Eisenhower has left the table. So we have 3 no's for P12, correct? 4 yeses. Is that correct that we have? So all items P1 through 13 pass. Personnel item 14. To hire Rianne Holm as middle school STEM technology education teacher. This is a roll call vote. Motion to approve. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
yes.
Mr. Lanning?
Yes.
Mr. Nestle?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
No, I believe the phase one.
Mrs. Caprilla?
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer?
Yes.
And Mr. Yes.
Yes.
Am I correct if phase one, or? I'm looking at 76,706.
Master plus 30?
Yeah. Step 16?
Yeah.
Sorry, 77,071?
I don't have it in front of me right now. No, I looked at it before I voted.
23.14.
No, 24.
Masters, plus 16.
80 or 50.
Or
It was
wait,
30?
masters, plus 30. 80 or
80 or
50.
50.
Sorry about that.
Does that change your vote?
Yeah.
Taylor, you have. Personnel item 15, approval of Jenna Welch as the elementary teacher. She will start at step 1. This is a roll call vote. Motion to approve. Second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Caprilla?
Yes.
Mr. Lanning?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Nestle?
Yes.
Mr. Yes.
Yes. Personnel item 16, approval of Stephanie Frisk to be elementary assistant principal at West Berwick. $69,137. This is a roll call
So
vote.
moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Nestle?
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lanning?
Yes.
Mrs. Capella?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Yost?
Yes. Personnel item 17, approval of Karen Fanouken to be the middle school assistant principal at 101-125. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Capella?
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lanning?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Nestle?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Yost?
Yes. That brings us to old business. Anyone have any old business to discuss? New business? I don't know if we're going to get Mrs. Gross back. What's that? At this time, we're going to take a brief recess. There is new business. Must be executive. All right. We will leave the room for a personnel issue executive discussion.
And he was like, just like, or she'd be like teaching them just the random things that you would say. And I was like, how about her coming back? She's good now. She had a break. She had a couple days.
Hello to you. My daughter's face when she got there.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we have, that's the variety. Our internet state.
Notice it's stacked on way. Finished it. You finished it. I sort of hesitated. I'm not just going to take a farm. Crystal. Are you going to speak? No.
Everyone looks at me, I'm like, how many times?
I just want to know before. Yes.
Unless she's perfect too, to do so. I'm not planning.
This step is out on your own.
Is that thing turned off?
They moved
Just like easier to just take out a section and put them together.
I'm not finding you. I'm not finding you.
I'll be happy to shoot that. They say there's one coming from this
Rachel, if you know, turned out all
I love your, I love the landing strip, that's why I had to come down my. That's what I call it. We have that light all the way where I call it landing strip.
I just didn't know if you could do it. I tried to do it earlier. You know, you turn it off. It's over there. Yeah.
Oh my God, what about your vehicle?
Okay, so under new business, at this time, for personal reasons, I'm resigning from my position as superintendent and requesting to transition to the role of the assistant superintendent. I will continue to perform the duties of the superintendent until my replacement is appointed. This transition allows me to remain dedicated to supporting the daily operations of our school district in the capacity I have previously held, while also addressing my personal needs. Thank you for your understanding, patience, and ongoing support as we work through this transition together, always keeping the best interest of our students, staff, and community.
So with that, we need to make a motion to amend the agenda so we can.
Yeah, we
add
have
to
to
the
amend.
agenda. So motion to amend, all in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so we can amend the agenda. So the motion that we're adding will be to accept the resignation of Wendy Kupsky as superintendent for personal reasons effective immediately, and to reassign Wendy to the position of assistant to the superintendent effective immediately at her current salary. The contract will be drawn up with the details which will include benefits, including but not limited to early retirements, benefits which mirror those currently provided to Act 93 employees, vacation and sick time on a prorated basis, and the medical insurance waiver incentive. Title will be assistant to the superintendent, duties to be assigned. Salary is her current salary, $135,000 and change. The exact salary will be provided in the contract through 6/30/2025. The standard increase on July 1st plus early retirement benefits currently provided to Act 93 employees upon her retirement on September 10th, 2025. That's correct. This is a separate contract. This is not an Act 93 position. Can we get a motion to add all of that to the agenda? Second. All in favor? Well, hang on a second. I have to open up to public comment. Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
What is the exact title? Because I believe one person said assistant superintendent, one said assistant to the.
Her title will be assistant to the superintendent.
Is that a position that has existed in the past?
It previously existed in the district, yes.
Is anyone filling it now? Is anyone in that position now?
The assistant to the superintendent?
Correct.
We currently do not have that.
No.
Okay, we had our first and second.
Wait,
Oh,
so just so I'm understanding, we're going to pay Mrs. Kupsky her same pay and benefits?
I can't hear you.
We are going to pay Mrs. Kopsky the same pay and benefits that she's getting now as superintendent, but will be the assistant superintendent. But then we're going to have to hire someone as the superintendent and pay that person as well.
She will be assistant to the superintendent until September 10th.
Of next year.
And somewhere between now and then, we will hire a replacement superintendent.
And then in that interim time period, we're going to be paying two people, like her salary and another person's salary as well.
We will pay her salary to serve as assistant to the superintendent, and we will pay the salary of a new superintendent, yes. Right, we don't know when that's gonna be. So, any other questions? Right, we can roll call. John, you still with us, right?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Okay. Maybe you can call him first.
Yeah.
Mr. Eisenhower,
I agree, you accept, yes.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooperla,
Yes.
Mr. Lanning,
Yes.
Mrs. Moyer,
Yes.
Mr. Nestle,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
and Mr. Yost.
Yes. So while we have the agenda open, we should add a motion and approval to open the contract so that we can begin the search for a replacement superintendent.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Is there any other new business? And that brings us to our final public comment. Please state your name, township or borough.
Nancy Hickson, Borough, Berwick. First off, before I start, Mrs. Romeo, this is not personal, okay? I've been at this for a while, just want you to know. I think the business manager report is getting so lax anymore. Old times ago, as a public, as a taxpayer, I could see what bills were being paid, what was going on, also what was coming into the district. Last year's, previous board, so just prior to you guys, at least they would have up some type of thing, and in it you would also have the right to know. None of that is being shown to us anymore, if there are any right to knows being delivered to this district or not, and how much they're costing. I mean, I can remember there was one that was thousands of dollars, and that's my money as a taxpayer and where it's going. And I can sit here, and you went through the index, which I understand is a total formality, and you have to do that as a board. And that's fine, you did it, and it's over with, but now you're going into the budget. And what worries me is I had my taxes raised, thought it was necessary, went through the budget with you, things like that, so I knew it. So I agreed with that, but what I'm worried about is, are you going to turn around and ask us again to raise our taxes? Because I can't do compound interest, but I'm pretty good at doing interest off, just off my head. And I can tell you this district made minimum amount of $700,000 to $800,000 just on interest. Okay? That's bottom line. I'm just curious where we are at, because again, none of it is coming out to us as taxpayers. It seems to all be hid. The bills are just like, other than Mr. Sweet or whoever that I hear that's being voted against. I understand that, but I just think not enough is coming back. I think the business manager, when we had Tina Herandon in here, which some of you didn't totally agree with, but at least she had a good type of report to us where she showed different things that were coming in as in interest and things like that, plus what is going out and where the budget was. Right now, we have no clue as a taxpayer what you guys have done, what is in our, bank and not at this point. I think we need a little more communication back to the taxpayers. Thank you, and thanks for not the 3 minutes, this is probably a little long.
Anyone else? So our executive session and our executive recesses were personnel related. We also had student discipline reports.
I'd also like to request a brief executive at the conclusion of this meeting for personnel.
Understand we want to go into executive after this meeting for personnel.
Basic continuation.
So our next meeting. All right, our next meeting will be here on January 13th, 6 o'clock. We'll have the committee of the whole, and we will roll right into the board meeting when we are done with the committee of the whole. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Second?